In Guangxi in 1967, there were two opposing factions of mass organizations. One faction was the Joint Command of Proletarian Revolutionary Rebels, which supported Wei Gouqing, then president and secretary of the Guangxi Autonomous Region. The other faction was the Command of the April 22nd Revolutionary Action, which was opposed to Wei Gouqing. The struggle between the two factions was very intense and there were frequent armed fights. In May-June 1968, the two factions began to seize guns and ammunition from the resident troops, blocking transportation, and the scale of the armed struggle began to escalate. On July 3, 1968, the CCP issued the July 3 Bulletin, which was intended to stop the armed struggle between the two factions, but which eventually became the basis for the Proletarian Revolutionary Rebels to cleanse the April 22nd Revolutionary Action faction. Wei Gouqing claimed to have discovered the KMT's anti-communist National Salvation Army in Guangxi and imposed on the April 22nd Revolutionary Action faction all the charges of fighting, killing, seizing weapons from the army, and blocking railroad traffic between the two factions. An organized and planned killing began. Armed militia and workers' pickets on the side of the Proletarian Revolutionary Rebels went from house to house, searching and arresting people according to pre-demarcated areas, and armed with lists of names. In the city of Nanning, the army was even mobilized to suppress the April 22nd Revolutionary Action faction with heavy artillery and machine guns. In the name of flood discharge, thousands of April 22nd Revolutionary Action members and their families, who were hiding in air raid shelters, were drowned alive. In addition to direct execution by firing squad, the methods of massacre included beheading, burying alive, stoning, gouging out hearts, dynamiting, and so on. What is horrifying is that during the massacre, there were incidents of cannibalism and even the disembowelment of living people for their hearts and livers. It can be confirmed that 421 people were eaten, and that thousands of people consumed human flesh. Even more absurdly, the male genitals of those who had been cut off were used to make wine. According to the CCP's official information, 150,000 to 160,000 people died in this massacre, and even the CCP officials lamented that the number of killings was the highest in the country, and the tragedy of the killings was rare in history.